Could this Kirkland Signature $199 driver simply be a clone or a rebranded Mizuno driver? On today's episode, we're going to dive deep, we're going to do the detective work, and we're going to try to find out. So all of this came about because I did a review of this Kirkland Signature driver. I also sent one of these drivers to James Robinson on the other side of the pond. And on both of those videos, there were comments saying that a Mizuno tip and shaft combination could fit and be inserted into a Kirkland Signature driver. Now, why does that matter? Well, of course that matters because this driver comes with an even flow shaft, but that's it. There's a regular and a stiff, no other options. And people like to have options. There is no shaft out there on the market that's going to fit well for everybody. Each swing is a little bit different. Your swing speed is going to be different from mine, going to be different from James's. And so, could we find a budget alternative to be able to simply swap out the shafts? That's why this matters. So luckily, I've got a couple of the Mizuno drivers from 2023 here in my studio. I have both the STX as well as the STZ from 2023. And to my shock and awe, that shaft tip did fit. Now, it's not the same exact tip. There's much more adjustability on the Mizuno tip than there is on the Kirkland tip. The Kirkland only has 4 adjustment options. You can go up or down a degree, and then you can give it a drop bias or just have the standard setup. The Mizuno gives you the option to go up at least 2 degrees, down 2 degrees, and you can also change the lie on that club. So much more adjustability, but it does fit. And that is super interesting because if you look at these drivers from the top, of all the drivers last year, this Kirkland Signature most matches the Mizuno drivers with this carbon fiber crown up at the top on this glossy black finish. Now, between the STX and the STZ, to my eye, I think this looks a lot like an STX. I was super happy about that, honestly, because last year, if you saw my reviews of the Mizuno drivers, I preferred the X over the Z, which was surprising because in 2022, I definitely preferred the Z, but last year I preferred the X. So I was pretty happy that this most matched the X. Turning over both of these drivers, they both have a tungsten weight there at the back, no other adjustability, which is very interesting, although the finishing on the bottom of the Mizuno is definitely a notch above the Kirkland's, and you wouldn't expect any different because that driver is double the price. Now, looking at the face, it looked even more similar, and now I'm starting to think, gosh, this could be the exact same driver. Oh, and on the Costco website, Mizuno is actually a driver that Costco sells right now. You can go check it out and find out that they sell the STX and STZ, which adds another twist to this whole saga. So yeah, there's a compelling argument to be made, I think, that these drivers may in fact be the same. So the next thing I had to do was literally take both heads, weigh them, and measure them. So first, putting these on the scale, as you can see, they are not exactly the same. They're a few grams off from each other. I then took out my calipers, and as you can see, yes, that is just slightly different as well. While that face looks basically identical in terms of shape, the length and the width measurements are not exactly the same. Again, that doesn't necessarily rule out that these weren't made by Mizuno or weren't at least a clone by Kirkland Signature trying to make a Mizuno, or thirdly, made in the same factory as the Mizuno, which could also be the case. But these aren't exactly the same heads. Well, the nice thing, again, having the option to put the Mizuno tip shaft into this head is that I get to test it. And let's see head to head if the Kirkland Signature can actually hang with the Mizuno STX from 2023. I'd say it's got a pretty good chance since I thought it hung pretty well with my TSR3. Now, before we get started, 2 things I gotta say. First off, thank you to PlayBetter.com who provided the GC quad that we're gonna use here for the stats and the comparisons. PlayBetter.com has the best prices on the internet for the GC quad, as well as many of the launch monitors you even see behind me here. They stock it all. They got the best prices on the internet, and they've got the best customer service in the business. Secondly, I want to thank you, the subscriber of this channel, and if you're not already subscribed, this is your chance to do it. But it's because of the Let's Play Through community and the wonderful comments that I see that allows me to take these deep dives, which you don't see too many other places here on YouTube, so thank you. Let's get to work. All right, so what we're gonna do is hit a number of shots with both this Mizuno STX as well as the Kirkland Signature driver here. I'm gonna hit a few with the Mizuno, switch to the Kirkland, go back and forth a couple of times until we've got some good data to take a look at. Let's do it. Gotta say, the Mizuno feels very good at impact. Good sound, great feeling coming off that Mizuno head. I would say it does sit just a little like toe up at address, it looks like, which is interesting. All right, there's 5 good ones with the Mizuno, and now we're gonna fit the Kirkland head to that same spot. I am playing these at 11.5 today, in case you're wondering, because on the last video, people said I could get a little bit more distance if I had a little bit more launch, a little higher trajectory. So that's what we're trying to do. Now we are gonna see red shot traces here with the Kirkland Signature. Head shape wise, it looks very similar at address, maybe just slightly draw biased, I would say. It doesn't sit as toe up though as that Mizuno, to my eye at least. Felt just as good when it goes off the center of the club face, I'll tell you that. Interestingly, despite that draw face, I seem to be fading the ball more with this club. All right, well, we're gonna switch back now to the Mizuno, hit 5 more shots and keep going here. That spin number is pretty nice there though, 2273. Very healthy spin number for my type of swing. It's not too low, not too high. Taking a look at that early dispersion map, as you can see, that best drive there right now is with the Kirkland Signature. Nothing's blowing me away though here for distance just yet. But my club head speed's down a little bit too. I'm at 96, so I'm gonna try to get the club head speed up just a bit here on this second batch of swings as I warm up. All right, there's 5 more. Switching back to the Kirkland. I'll tell you what, I think this Kirkland Signature Driver sits better into this shaft. At least it seats a little easier going in than the Mizuno. So interestingly, the tolerance is a little better on the Kirkland Signature with this particular tip. That's not even made for it. I don't know if that means anything, random fact. Pretty good one. Yeah, you know when you hit him well. Boy, it does feel good coming off that club face with the Kirkland. Another good one there. Just the peak height is better, it looks like, with this Kirkland Signature Driver. Probably my worst swing with the Kirkland. It was off the toe a little bit. But in terms of total stats there, that wasn't too bad. And in fact, I'd say that was a pretty forgiving result for where I hit that on the club face, which was about there. Oh, we finally got over 260 with the Kirkland. Second time only, I think. All right, one more, then switching back to the Mizuno. Slightly low on the club face, which is why that one didn't go quite as far. All right, I'm switching back to the Mizuno. I think after we hit these next 5 shots, we'll have some really good data to look at. Interestingly, I don't know if it's because that toe is up, but this one just wants to go left a little bit more on me. Maybe it's the aerodynamics too, just coming through the air. I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm taking the exact same swings though. Good one there. I think the feel may even be better with the Kirkland. Sound-wise, really similar. If you blindfolded me, I don't think I could tell you which is which. Oh, that felt good. There's a little bit more of a compressed feeling with the Kirkland, and there's a little bit more of a solid with the Mizuno. It could go either way. They both are good. I don't think there's one better than the other, but I'm just telling you what I'm experiencing here. Feels more solid with the Mizuno, more powerful, but the numbers aren't any different. And it's definitely launching lower. Absolutely launching lower for some reason. That's a good one there. All right, one more and we're gonna have some really interesting data to look over. Oh yeah, good way to end it. Okay, so I would say all in all, of those 15 swings with each club, I would say 14 with each were pretty darn good. Okay, now on average, it seemed like the Mizuno launched lower. I don't think I'm taking any different swings with the Mizuno, so I don't know if it's aerodynamics. I don't know if it's that toe up that I'm seeing. I really don't. But I will say, I think I've got 14 really good swings with each to compare to. We're gonna knock just a couple out here. Woo! Actually felt pretty good about that driver swing here today, I gotta say. So I did my best to take the same swings. Let's see what the stats say. In terms of club head speed, 98.1 to 98.7. So with the Mizuno, I swung just a little bit faster, or at least it came through faster one way or the other. In terms of ball speed leaving the club, 140.9 to 141. That's interesting because it's not a whole lot of difference there, 0.1 mile per hour. So at least in terms of ball speed, that's as apples to apples as it gets. But interestingly, the Kirkland seems to be just a slightly more efficient club. Let's look at the smash factor, 1.43 on average with the Mizuno, 1.44 on average with the Kirkland. Just a little bit more efficient overall. Okay, so in terms of launch angle, 11.6 with the Kirkland, 10.4 with the Mizuno, and that's what it looked like to me. It looked like these were launching higher. In terms of spin, 1977 with the Mizuno, 2379 with the Kirkland. So what is that? Almost 400 RPM more spin. That's interesting with the Kirkland. Definitely launched higher, definitely spun more, and that's helping it reach a little bit. We should have a little bit more distance, but I'm not there just yet. In terms of peak height, 20 with the Mizuno to 25 with the Kirkland. So that's 5 yards, 15 feet. That's a considerable height advantage for the Kirkland. Now in terms of carry, here's what I'm really interested in. 232 on average with the Kirkland, 228 with the Mizuno. So again, more spin, more height. It just reached a little bit more. In terms of total, 255 to 255. So there's no difference there. That little less spin with the Mizuno actually made it roll out just a little bit more. So those are some very, very interesting stats. And look at that dispersion map. There's not a whole lot of difference there. The longest drives there were the Mizunos, interestingly enough. As you can see, was just a little bit longer, but maybe a little bit more consistent there with the Kirkland. Just one real big outlier over here, whereas we have a few more of those Mizuno balls. All in all, you blindfold me, and I don't know if I could tell you the difference between these two drivers. Certainly looking down at it, they're very similar. That Mizuno sits just a little bit toe up, and coming off the club face, I think it's just a little bit more thuddier, more powerful feeling. But that Kirkland just feels to me, I mean, I like a compressed feel like I like with my Adele irons. I like the feel just a little bit better coming off the Kirkland personally, but again, that's very subjective. In terms of sound, again, pretty much the same. These drivers are extremely similar. Now, I'm not going to go and say that Mizuno built this Kirkland driver. I'm not going to go that far. I do think they're different drivers, but were they built in the same factory? Possibly. Or at least Kirkland took a lot of design cues from this Mizuno with that crown that has the carbon fiber look to it, with the tip that actually matches. It's so interesting that it does. Between these two drivers, I would pick the Kirkland Signature at $199. I don't see anything in terms of the stats performance-wise that is going to lead me to believe that the Mizuno driver is any better. Certainly not enough to warrant basically double the price. And I think us mere mortals are going to see a lot of that as I test the drivers here in 2024. We've got the QI10, we've got the Dark Speed, the Ping 10K, especially I'm looking forward to. For us average golfers, I don't know. I'm going to be very curious to find out. It'll be an interesting process for sure. But here, I would say the Kirkland, at least on price, wins out. Everything else pretty much the same. I'm so happy that I went through this process. Thank you to those who commented on my video as well as James Robinson's video telling us about this tip. That is super interesting. I will continue to see if there's any other tips. I'll be testing all the shafts I've gotten here to see if any other manufacturers match up as well. But the Mizuno certainly does. So if you've got an old Mizuno driver and maybe the head's not working for you, but you love the shaft, boom, there you go. You got an easy upgrade here with the Kirkland Signature head, and you've got a brand new head, interestingly enough. Guys, I hope you got something out of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do hit subscribe. It helps this channel. I'll catch you back real soon on another edition of Let's Play Through.